machine here at MGC 2021, which is crazy because about 25 days ago, this playfield in the machine was basically just a piece of wood. So if you think about like all you pinball restorers, 20 days to do a playfield swap is fast.
Yeah, definitely. I think not only a playfield, well, yours was technically a playfield swap because you had revision, what?
So the playfield that's in here now is technically revision 6. It's the third revision that was done with CAD and CNC, but there was 3 that were before it that were like foam core and wood or printing out layouts that then I used foam core on top of paper.
Before we get into the massive amount of the iterations that it took to become this flippable game with rules, lights, and toys, what is Motor City Taxi and why?
So the origin story of Motor City Taxi, as I tell it to people, is that one day I went for a bottomless mimosa brunch, as one does in their late 20s, and I was walking home one morning from the brunch, and someone blew by me in their car blaring The Offspring. And again, as a millennial, I played a lot of Crazy Taxi in my day, and I felt like Jake Blues in the back of the church, that like the light shined on me, and it was my guidance from God to make a Crazy Taxi pinball machine. So that was like the first idea. And then I really like the city of Detroit. I like the industry, the music, the art, the culture. And I was like, why make a Crazy Taxi clone? Why not take the idea and the overall theme of Crazy Taxi and then apply it to Detroit? And so instead of, being in fictionalized San Francisco, it's now all the locations are in Detroit. Instead of random zany characters being your drivers, now all the drivers are famous Detroit musicians, covering everything from Motown to hip hop and rock and roll and techno, to make a game that like anyone can play and select, some music that they can jive with, which I thought was like, kind of, we all complain about dad rock pins every once in a while. So like, I thought, let's throw some hip hop in it. Let's throw some soul and some techno, and then, the dads can just play the Bob Seger driver.
Bob Seger driver may or may not be my favorite. That's fun. That's really a unique concept with a really fun backstory. I did not know the bottomless mimosa offspring part of the story. That was really fun.
Yeah, no, anytime you hear like, yeah, it's like instantly you're back in Crazy Taxi.
Yeah, no, it is a portal. Okay, so Crazy Taxi, were you a Dreamcast Crazy Taxi enjoyer or a stand-up or sit-down in the arcade version?
Arcade and PS2. I wasn't cool enough to have my console experience was an Atari 2600 to a PlayStation 2. So like that sort of paradigm shift was there.
That's pretty impressive. The first console I ever bought was a Dreamcast. It has a very special place in my heart, and I think one of the biggest reasons I bought the Dreamcast was so I could play Crazy Taxi whenever I wanted.
It's a great port because we'll go into it later, but it's a great port.
Yeah, when we start our Crazy Taxi podcast, which I think needs to happen now, we'll talk about that later. Okay, so you're obviously you are into pinball. You've enjoyed pinball. You've been a pinball enjoyer for some time before you decided to, an enthusiast. Before you made your own game. Well, let's talk about your development process. You talked to me about it a little bit with wood and a 48-volt transformer and foam core. What was your first iteration of laying out a playfield? Well, since we can't hear Matt, I will speak.
Yeah, it's still powered up.
If we need to go down to one microphone, I can do the wrist thing you taught me where you go like this.
Yeah, I think I lost microphone. 1, 2, 2, 2, 1.
That's
1,
cool.
2.
Let's just talk
All
with
right,
my
we'll just do
microphone.
one mic. Yeah, so,
Oh, hey, give me my.
oh.
That's mine.
All right, cool. So we didn't lose Mike. We just lost it in the monitors. Got me confused. So as far as my development process goes, my background is in engineering. I'm, a degreed mechanical engineer. So CAD and all that stuff is second nature to me. For this game, it started as just a scale sketch that I looked at games that I liked in, pinball history and said, I'd love a game that was like TNA or early EMs that have a fully round orbit that just whips the ball around and delivers it really fast to you. I think that would be fun. And then taking different features and going, all right, where can I sketch these in? So I grabbed my scale ruler and just started sketching things. At that point, once I had a sketch, I took that sketch, measured it out, and then actually drew on just a piece of wood. And, as you do when you play pinball, you get in your stance, and any pinball player knows, they know where the good shots are, oh, this shot will feel good because it's on the power stroke of the flipper. And so I looked at where I drew and went, okay, that needs to move a little bit. This needs to move a little bit. And at that point, I took foam core plastic or foam core board, cut it into 1.25-inch strips, and then started gluing the foam core to the wood to figure out, what would work where. And
Hi, Emoto.
so once I had the foam core on the playfield, I took a 48-volt power supply, connected some flipper mechs to the switches, and just started flipping it. First I set up my orbits, and when those flip good, I like those, and then figured out where I wanted the jump ramp. And once I figured out the geometry of the jump ramp that felt good with how it failed, how it went around to my upper lanes, then I designed the next thing and then the next thing. And, before I knew, I had what felt like a fully designed playfield. With the playfield, I went through 6 different revisions, starting with the first aforementioned foam core and plywood, and then going up to taking those designs that I drew out, measuring them, transferring them into CAD, seeing how that playfield flipped, which, long story short, it didn't flip well. I didn't measure it right, and so some things just didn't work. And
Were they small adjustments between some of these revisions, or did a lot of these things require multiple millimeters of
revision
adjustment?
1 to 2 had the biggest change because I failed to measure the depth of the playfield right. So I drew my playfield to the size of an early Williams solid state, and then realized, no, I want to use a WPC playfield and gain another 3 inches out the back of the cab. So everything had to move back, and when you move everything back, certain things like where your orbits end have to change. And so there was some major changes early on, and I kept working at it, improving the CAD, improving the product, and got it to a point where I was confident to bring it to a show in 2019. And that's probably where the biggest design changes happened, which was 2019.
You got a lot of feedback from people that
Yeah.
have played the game at Pinball Expo, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So it was at Pinball Expo. It was the first time anyone other than me flipped the game. And
Was that horrifying?
well, I'm a procrastinator, and so I had the playfield design, and I was happy with it, but I didn't use CNC to cut the playfield. What I did was put paper that had a printout of what the playfield should be on top of the wood, but paper is really abrasive, and so it slowed down the ball a ton. So my orbits just felt slow, and everything just felt sluggish. Like, if there was ball spin, like, you felt ball spin on a game and go, wow, that was moving quick. When it's on paper, it's times 10 because the ball actually has something to grip now. And so I actually had a friend of mine, I think it was like 15 days before Expo, cut me a brand new play field that I was able to like clear coat. It was CNC cut, so everything was where it was supposed to be. And I got it to Expo. So like going to Expo 2019, I was so tired that I was just like, my game isn't on fire. I'm happy. I think I did an interview with Amoto where she's like, I heard your game isn't on fire. And I'm like, yeah, it still isn't.
Yeah.
This weekend is a win.
So far, so good. Okay, so designing pinball is hard. Doing pinball is hard. It takes a lot of work. What, if we look past that, the creative, the measuring, the engineering side of it, what about some of the hardware? What does this game run on?
So this game runs on the multimorphic P3 platform, which is, I mean, I really like the platform a lot. I think it's one of the most commercially supported platforms that we have for homebrewers to be able to access industry standard components.
And commonly used in the last few spooky pinball games, the multimorphic pinball games.
TNA,
Alice Cooper,
ACNC, Rick and Morty, American also uses the multimorphic control boards. So like as far as like industry standard goes, like they're the closest thing. Like if you want to get a production ready board, they're there. And that's what I really like about, using their boards and, the support you get from a company like that. So it's running off it's called the P3 Rock controller, and it's the multimorphic board set. And then software-wise, it's running off the Skeleton Game Framework, which is a Python-based programming framework that is specialized for controlling pinball machines.
you've done almost 100% of the coding on this game as well, from basic functions of the game outside of what would you call it? I mean, the base functions, the operating system is the skeleton game. The skeleton game. What else did you have? I mean, to keep it in layman's terms.
So how I would describe it is the framework handles ball control, player control, and ball search, that sort of stuff. Like it knows when you hit the start button to add a player and then set it a score, and when the ball drains, it goes to ball 2. I didn't have to write any of that. And, creating the player, I didn't have to do any of that. Because knowing where the ball is in the game and handling that is actually really complex. So thank God there are people that are way smarter than me, like Jerry and Adam and everyone, Michael, that are behind the Skeleton Game project to make it so someone that has never written code in their life be able to create something that feels very close to a commercial product.
Create something that feels like a game.
Yeah.
So second reminder, pinball is hard.
Yeah.
Don't forget, pinball is hard.
I describe it as when someone goes, oh, pinball, like homebrew can't be that hard. You're screwing components into places and writing some code. How I describe it is every step you think exists, it's actually 20.
You're inspiring me to not want to ever make my own game.
Homebrew. I've spent 5 years on this project on and off, and this project has been one of the most stressful yet satisfying projects that I've done, like in my professional career, collegiate career, like any project I've done. This has had some of the most satisfying success moments that, like, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
That's heartwarming. Let's talk about some of the mechanical devices on the game, and then let's open it up.
Absolutely.
Would you do you want to start at maybe the top and then run to the bottom and show some of the basic features and mechanisms that are in your game?
Well, let's go with how the ball travels through the machine. Just because it's easier that we can start in the shooter lane and come up, and like all of this is thematically together. So over here on the right side, we have a little sculpt called the Detroit People Mover. It's one of the mass transit systems in Detroit. We've got 3 targets here that will basically allow the player to travel on the Detroit People Mover and get to an eventual wizard mode. And all of the shot indication is up here. So this is just a billboard that's backlit that has all the different locations that you're able to go on the Detroit People Mover. So the ball...
And the Detroit People Mover is a real thing, correct?
Yes. It's I can't remember when it was created, but it's basically like a monorail system throughout the city of Detroit. One of the problems is it goes one direction. So that's wonderful. But it's a cool, very Detroit thing. It's not many places have something like that, and so it was something that I wanted to be thematically in the game. And so, like the People Mover, the ball comes up onto a little habit trail and, comes into the playfield. Standard playfield things. When I designed this game, I wanted it to be like an early Williams Solid State or early Bali. The 3 pop bumper, pop garden, 3 lanes up top, and, a really smooth orbit. I wanted this game to play fast, but not terribly mean. The game I want to be very walk-upable. That
I like that, walk-upable.
Yeah, someone walks up, like my grandma walks up and starts double flippering the whole time. She feels like she got something done. Like, it's not like an Iron Maiden where you have to hit 5 shots before you can do something, which I have an Iron Maiden. I love it. There's nothing wrong with it. But I wanted something that, like, anyone could walk up and play and feel like they've got their money's worth out of the game. So up here, Pop Garden, pretty standard. The orbit, fully round. One of the first features I designed in the game, actually, was this jump ramp. In the design intent of the game, I wanted a street-level playfield. Reason being, I didn't want to design something that I couldn't manufacture, that I couldn't code for, and so I wanted street level, simple. So this will be themed after the Ambassador Bridge in Detroit, and it basically just jumps the ball over the orbit and delivers it to the lanes. I wanted it, to be kind of like a marquee shot, like your Aerosmith toy box, the thing that looks thematically cool that you can hit and go, wow, that feels fun. This shot feels really good when you just wing it around, and it's just super satisfying. Once I completed that, one of the sculptures in downtown Detroit is the Spirit of Detroit, and so I decided to make a semicircular group of targets that have a magnet in the middle of it. Because I'm not super worried about, like, ever getting to production or dealing with tournament players. And so I wanted something, like, random that would just, like, you could have the risk reward of, like, winging it and hoping for the best, or it might just launch the ball straight down the drain and you just go, man, never again.
Oops. The chaos of pinball. Chaos is what makes this game fun.
And that was also a design intent of, when you look at this playfield overall, the orbits deliver very squarely to the flippers. My pop garden comes off this cross shot and delivers very squarely to the flippers. Everything fails pretty safely on this playfield. The only exception is the slings, which are designed to create randomness. Lateral movement is what we don't want in pinball when we're trying to beat our friends at high score. And so I wanted something else that this first target you can't hit without relying on the magnet or relying on a ricochet. And so again, I want to force lateral movement to like make players sweat a little bit. That, the game 7 type moment of I need to get this last target hit. I'm going to have to rely off bouncing it off something to hit it. And I thought that was something fun that, when I'm playing games with my friends, like I want to do stuff that might make me drain because it's more fun that way.
Risk reward.
Exactly. So, and then one of the first games I ever got was Williams Space Shuttle, and I love the geometry of the two saucers on the edges. And so, given that I was doing Crazy Taxi or Motor City Pinball, I knew I needed a place for the ball to be held that you could start and end modes in one place. So that was always going to be either a saucer or a scoop. And that's the core design of the game in 2019 when I brought it to Expo that year. After getting a lot of feedback from several designers that I never thought would ever see my game or look at it, they told me I left a lot of room up in this top edge that is a total no-no. They all told me you can't leave money on the table in a BOM. Put more stuff in and sales will take it out. You can't leave open space. And so I decided, okay, I'll put a second scoop. Another place to end the modes. Awesome. And then Roger Sarp played my game and told me he didn't like my pop bumpers because it felt like the ball was just stuck there. And so I designed a custom trapdoor that basically opens up a giant hole in the playfield for the ball to get out of there really quickly. So if you get the ball stuck in here, it's bouncing around. This opens up and drains to a subway that brings it to the scoop so that you can keep playing and you don't get stuck with some bad bounce or whatever. So those were the two major changes from Expo 2019 after getting a bunch of feedback from different designers and, industry professionals that, again, I couldn't believe some of these people were playing my game and, having smiles on their faces.
That must be pretty magical. That were good reformation.
Dude, it's the best.
Affirmation, sorry.
I walked into Expo and just being like, man, I hate everything about this. This game sucks. I just need to walk away from it. I don't belong in pinball. And then, somebody like Wason plays it and goes, dude, your orbit's fun. And I'm like, oh, really? But, yeah, it's, like I said, it's one of the most stressful but, satisfying projects I've done.
Let's open this thing up.
All right.
The bottom is pretty magical. I'm gonna move the handheld Kamemoto. We've looked at the bottom a little bit, but it's a standard bottom outlane on the left and right, and an inlane on.
So I'm using the Williams inlane guides. So flipper spacing is same as Williams WPC. Overall geometry of the slings is pretty close to WPC. A little, I think I pulled the top post back a little bit just to when instead of it firing into the other sling, it kind of kicks it up a little bit more, which is kind of a problem given my outlanes. They're a little angry.
Matt says the outlanes are angry. I think they're controllable but dangerous. Do we need to take the balls out? Here, I got a hand. You got it?
Yeah.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
Teamwork.
Safe to put them down here? Yeah. Hey, Soda.
Oh, yeah. I'll answer any questions.
especially if they're from Colin Baxter.
So this is the bottom of the playfield. So like I said earlier, I'm an engineer by trade and training. So when I went into Homebrew, I wanted my game to look like a production game from the start, especially on the underside, because I travel for work, so I don't have time to debug wiring problems. And also, if you look, like, all are like new, because like there's a couple ways to do Homebrew. There's guys that reuse cabs, and that is totally like a great way to get into Homebrew, repurposing an old cab, repurposing an old playfield. In my case, I went with new just because I didn't want to mess with old mechs, and I didn't want old mechs to be like a failure point for me because I didn't have time to fix them. So everything on here is new components, modern control, and all that.
We've got a lot of standard Williams pieces and some Stern pieces as well.
Yeah. So there's some Stern coils. I ordered a Williams mech, but it came with a Stern coil on it. But yeah, so I think basically everything is like WPC catalog, and then like the drop targets that can drop themselves. Everything. My goal in Homebrew was to make this as close to a standard BOM as possible. So BOM is bill of materials. That I didn't want to have a bunch of like random custom things that like weren't manufacturable, because even though I'm not like aiming for manufacturing, it's still like a fun challenge to make something that is manufacturable.
That's what I was gonna say. It must be to keep confined to reality instead of I've got a machine shop at my disposal. I can make whatever I want, right?
I mean, that does help. That does help a lot. I have a bunch of 3D printers. This wouldn't have been possible without a lot of that availability.
Let's talk about the 3D printed part. Just because I find it very fascinating, and with your story of taking Roger Sharp's advice as the pop bumpers that are boring, lifeless. Is that what did he say?
I think he said your pops are boring, and I don't have a reason to shoot them, so I won't. And I was like, all right, fair. And then he like walked away in the sunset. Like, how we could see the sunset in the building, I don't know, but it happened.
Desperado, the sharpshooter himself. Yeah. So we have the trapdoor.
Yes. So, due to time constraints of doing a playfield swap, cut, clear coat, and all that in 20-some days, I didn't have a time to actually wire the stepper motor. So when I got that advice to figure out how to get the ball out of my pop bumpers and how to utilize the top right inner orbit, I determined that like I needed to have a second scoop that I could end the mode somewhere else, and I wanted to have versatility because, again, the playfield is very simple, so I want each feature to be able to do a couple different things. And so in this case, I took this standard open back scoop mech and created my own adapter to put a Williams auto fire on it. So what that allows me to do is when the ball lands in the scoop, I can either fire it back out the scoop or fire it into my subway. So you can see here there's some Sharpie lines of my no-go zones of where I'm not allowed to have wiring or anything go directly through this area. You see I have a loom that goes over it, and I have stuff that goes under it. Also, when I designed the game, I made sure that there was no component that was more than 3 screws away from being removed. So when I look at like, because I have a lot of friends that are techs, and one of the biggest complaints is I can't get to this opto. it's under 5 pieces of plastic, and this plastic goes across the top of the game. And I didn't want to hear those sort of complaints from my friends and put them through that misery. And so I made sure that like everything that I would need service or ever could need service was never more than 3 screws away from being removed. So like in this case, this subway has like 6 screws in it, but it's a large subway. There's nothing we can do about that. But there's not a bunch of things that we have to remove to get that subway off. That there's 2 wiring looms that are single connectors, and that was another like design constraint intent thing that I did when creating this game, because if I didn't have limitations or like a box to play in, I would just create things that I would never finish because they're
fantastical and in the stars somewhere, right?
Yeah. So I created this mech, and then to the advice of some designers, you need to take something in the play. You can't leave room. Put something there. And then Roger's like, I don't like your pop bumpers. Give me another area for the ball to go away. And the problem is I had a jump ramp right where he was telling me my pop bumper should drain. And I'm like, Roger, there is something there. I can't get rid of particle physics.
Physics.
So then I was like, well, I could make a trapdoor. I go on Marco Pinball, I look at trapdoor mechs, and I look at the bottom of them, and they take up way too much room on the bottom of the playfield. I have a very tight pop garden, and I don't have the horizontal space to allow the trapdoor mech to open and then also create a large enough hole for the ball to fall out. So I got on CAD and started sketching up ideas, and I came up with this scoop mech that opens rotationally on this axis so that when it rotates open, it actually opens up a way larger hole than a traditional trapdoor would, and that just makes it easier for the ball to fall into the subway and clear out of the pops.
Let's look at that from the top really quick with it open. I know we looked at it let's not close the playfield all the way, but if we scoot around here, you can see the ball guide, and in code that this could that the ball will fly through here and go into that scoop or be opened in some sort of a pop bumper mode.
Yeah. So in most cases, that pop the scoop's going to be, or the trapdoor will be closed until, let's say, you hit 20 pop bumper hits. Like, the ball is clearly stuck in the pop bumpers, and it's doing its thing. Which, as far as when you look at the design intent of each feature of a pinball machine, the pop bumpers are there, like a pop garden that's closed off is there to like hold the ball for a second so you can kind of gather what you're doing. Like if there's only one exit, it allows you to kind of know, hey, the ball's there and it's going to come out at some point from that point.
Yeah. It'll be here soon and go, right?
Exactly. And so what I want to limit is the ball getting stuck there forever. And, like we've all played a Medieval Madness that is set up at the right angle that the ball hits the pop, comes through the lane, hits the pop, hits the rubber, comes back through the lane.
A good old triangle.
and does that for, 2 minutes.
Maybe forever.
And this is true.
That's Aftor. So whenever Fliptronic is playing Aftor and the ball gets stuck against that rubber and Jordan's like...
But that's where, like, it's something that, you don't think about until you're flipping it and go, okay, I need to change this. And so in the design... One of those things
you don't think about until you have to think about it, right? Because when someone else does it for you, it's like, oh, yeah, there's pop bumpers. They're doing their thing. And then when it's your job and I put it here, here, and here, and it's stuck, and you're like, huh. Right? That must be the weird, the phenomena. It's just like, I'm sure it happened to you a few times. You're like, huh, okay, what do we need to change here? How do I make this better?
Grab a swig of beer and start drawing out something new. Like, and I mean, like, which anyone that's watched me stream, like I'm very open about my design process because one of my main goals is sharing this hobby and making this hobby approachable. So
That's another thing you've done, though, right? I mean, I know that in the lead up to Pinball Expo last weekend, you did a marathon. I noticed I was working, but I did see notifications that Benzik's Pinball has gone live. We're going to code a pinball machine. You were very, very transparent throughout a lot of the design process, especially through the coding portion of it.
yeah, no, I think some of the Buffalo guys were giving me crap because I would start streaming before them, and they would join in chat, be like, "Hey, how's it going?" And then they would start their stream, and then they would raid me after because I was still going, and they're like, "Are
4
you
hours
okay?
later. Yeah.
Like,
Do you
is
have a
everything
problem?"
all right?" But yeah, and so I was very transparent about the design process. Doing the playfield swap, doing the code. Because I want this hobby to be approachable. And yeah.
Maybe
Okay.
we should go to the Q&A portion of the chat. Do you
Yeah.
want me to come over there and Matt? I can ask him to Matt.
All right. So the question is, would I consider this homemade or custom pinball instead of homebrew pinball? And that's actually something like we've talked about in the community about like not relating it to alcohol. I like indie pinball because I think indie gaming is something that like people like if you're just a normal gamer, you don't think about indie devs until you play an indie game and go, holy crap, this is amazing. And I think like in the pinball community, like I hope we can kind of like bandwagon on that, like indie pinball move or indie game movement and just kind of attach ourselves to that idea.
I support this.
Yeah, because when you think about it, indie is independent, and in our process, like designing these, I wouldn't say that I am independent, the only person doing this, because this game would not happen if it weren't for, guys like companies like Multimorphic, parts companies like Marco and other
Pinball
distributors
Life
and all of
Scott
those.
and all these people that help you put this thing together, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then also the communities that are created by these people that, you get to see people work on these and then help you through the problems that they hit while they were doing it. So like, even though we're like independent, it's still it takes a village.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you maybe not community driven, but there is a community of people that are there to support one thing, which is we should make our own pinball machines because we can, and
Yeah.
we should.
And that's the super cool thing is like pinball development has never been more attainable, approachable, available than it is now. Like we have guys designing boards and frameworks that, like, again, I said earlier, I have no prior coding experience other than playing with Arduinos and NeoPixels, which anyone that plays around with Arduinos knows you just copy and paste the library and it works. That's my coding experience, and I was able to code a pretty complex game, again, going over every step there's 20. Like, you think, oh, lane change is super simple until you try to figure out how to code it. But like that sort of thing, you rely on the community to kind of help you and guide you of like, I want to do this, but I don't know how to do it in code. And someone that understands code better can go, oh, do this, this, and this. And then my contribution may be I designed some component that I can 3D print so guys can mount their boards cleaner or, something like that. Or, I reverse engineered a bunch of mechanisms from a distributor so that I had space allocation models all through my game. And I send those out to guys on the forums and the pinball groups that are like, hey, does anyone have this model? And it's like, hey, here you go. Because that's my contribution to the community, and again, lowering the barrier to entry to homebrew pinball or indie pinball. We'll call it indie pinball for the rest of the evening.
It is hard. Craft pinball. Oh
Craft
boy.
pinball.
I'm gonna walk over to the computer. Can you hear me on the monitors
Yeah.
at all? I'm gonna walk over to the computer and I'm gonna read some of the chat questions. I could talk to Matt about this forever, but let's see what other people have to ask that are not Kyle. Okay, hold on. Give me a sec here. I'm gonna familiarize myself with what is going on. Oh, Brian O'Neill's here. Hi, Brian.
Hi,
Craft pinball. Let me scroll up a little bit. I'm sorry. Throw questions in now, but I'm gonna come up here really quick. I want to talk towards the microphone. Will this stream be available as a VOD? Yes. Let's see. Custom pinball. Are you entering into the American Pinball Challenge?
I mean, I'll be there. My goal in homebrew pinball has always been like I'm a lighting and sound guy in high school. I've always been the guy behind the lens, or behind the backstage area, or behind a lighting or sound console. So my goal in homebrew isn't necessarily to get to production. My goal of homebrew or indie pinball is to share the process and give the next generation of people that want to do this tools to make it more attainable, because someone needs to lower, or let me rephrase this. Our next group of designers are going to be inspired by something. Yes, they'll play Godzilla and be like, I want to do this, but then they can't see below the gorgeous art and all the light shows, because everything's happening so fast you can't really see what's below that and go, I can't do this. Like, there's so much going on.
Yeah, where do I start climbing the mountain?
Exactly. And you go to Homebrew Row at any of these shows that, we're being more more visible, and you see a game that's just a whitewood and go, oh, that's how that works. And then, I've had people come up to me at Expo, they were like 16 or 18 or something, like a coding prodigy. And they're like, oh, what language do you use? I'm like, Python. And they're like, I've known Python since I was 10 years old. And I'm like, I can do this. I'm way smarter than you. And I'm like, yeah, you should. This is attainable.
Please
do it.
Try. Do.
Code my game. I don't know what I'm doing.
Our friend Manu at Mystery Pinball Theater 3000 asks, were any programs like Visual Pinball used in testing shots, rules, etc. when starting development of the pinball machine? Did you do a virtual before building anything physical?
So if you were at the homebrew or the indie pinball dev seminar at Expo, we got to see several indie pinball designers' processes. So there was Mark Sidine with Metroid. He was a very mechanical, I'm gonna build this in real life and flip it and see what happens. There's guys like Ryan McQuaid with Sonic Spinball that did it all in VPX to start, and then ported it to an actual pinball machine. My process was building it in real life. I started with a blank piece of plywood, mounted in, I think it was a Bobby Orr cab, and wired up 48 volts to some flippers, and just sat in front of the machine and went, I bet a shot could be here. I bet a shot could be here. And then hot gluing foam core, losing all my fingertips from burning myself, and creating the game. So that was my process. And then once I had those shots feeling something good, then I went to CAD. So there was 2 versions of the game that were not designed in CAD, and then the remaining 4 were all CAD based designs. So I'm a hardware guy. I'm a visual learner. If if I can make it in person and like hold it in my hand, I can create a much better product than using like VPX. VPX is a huge tool though. Like I definitely see what that has done to the community. Like a game like Sonic. Sonic wouldn't exist without VPX. At least in the timeline that Ryan was able to create it. VPX is a huge asset to us.
Oh, maybe it's one of those things where it comes from your background and what you're talented in from the get-go. You are a hands-on person. A lot of your work involves hands-on making, creating, printing, designing. You have a strong suit in starting with something physical. Maybe some people that are better at coding, working on computers, it's better for them to start virtual. I think is there a right answer to that question? I really don't think
there
so.
Isn't. It's I think the main thing is like just taking the first step. And it's a step that doesn't have to be taken alone. There's guys that design their game, by themselves, and I say in air quotes because again, it takes a community. Like no guy has done it by themselves. I believe Archer was Keith and two others, like his brother and one of their friends. It was a partner project. There's parts of my game that wouldn't be possible without the help of the community. And if you're someone that's like, I want to design a pinball machine, I have this great theme, but man, I can't code. You probably know someone that can code, or know someone that is willing to learn code and thinks, man, that idea is cool. And there's nothing wrong with getting a couple people together. One of my favorite games at Expo was Greek Gods that Emoto did a walkthrough with. And that was done by a guy, Coleman Martin. And it was a project between him and his daughter. She did all the artwork, call-outs, and, I believe she did, the overall idea. And then he brought it to life, doing the mechanics, figuring out everything. And there's no reason that you have to do it alone. And if it seems scary, find a group of friends that wants to do it,
Yeah, I mean, it's that's exactly how they do it at the big companies, right?
Yeah.
It's Stern. It's not just Keith or George or John Borg or anyone just sitting down and doing this all by themselves. They have a team. There's a support system. People pair up people that have some skills then with other people that maybe lack some skills, right? It's beautiful. Community-driven pinball.
Yeah, it's Godzilla would not be Godzilla if Keith had to do the artwork. Now, Deadpool may be Deadpool because with George Gomez's signature, that's a nice signature. That guy can draw.
That guy can draw. I'm sure he can. But thanks to Jeremy for drawing. Yeah, that was a good question, Manu. Thank you. That was.
Yeah, thank you, Manu.
It is interesting to think that way. I mean, I've spent more time with pieces of paper drawing pinball machines, and I've tried to sit down with visual pinball, and it's daunting. There's a lot to it. And
that's where I always advise. I've got a couple friends thinking about Homebrew, and they're great players. Very good tournament players, and they have a vast knowledge of all the different eras of machines, everything from EMs to Sterns. They know where all the good shots are. And I've always told them, get a cab, take one of your machines, cut a piece of plywood, and just set it in the machine. And, take your pinball stance and just look at the playfield and go, if you have a theme idea, go, what would I want in that theme? And then figure out where you could fit that on the playfield. Because at the end of the day, if you're a good player, you can close your eyes and visualize where a shot is on the playfield. So you know what feels good, and don't let, the craziness of I got to design absolutely everything, I have to know everything, stop you from doing it. There's nothing wrong with wiring up some flippers and, use older mechs that can handle 48 volt constantly and can, switch and all that. In my case, I just use standard flipper mechs, so I could never hold the flipper because otherwise I would fry the coils. But, doing something like that. And then once you get to a point where it's hey, this flips and I'm enjoying it, call on a friend that can help you with electronics, help you with the actual CAD side. There's a number of my friends that don't know CAD, and I'm like, hey, I can send you some things to make it easier, but like you don't need to do it in CAD. There's a number of games in the indie pinball area that aren't in CAD. Like there's no reason you have to start there because again, there is no wrong way to do this as long as you're not hurting yourself.
I think that maybe segues into actually the next question we have here, and I'm going to make an addition to the end of the question, but user on YouTube says, "Are you interested in starting an indie pinball company?" And
No,
what I would
not at
add
all.
to what I would add to that, or follow up with that, is with the experience you've gathered with building Motor City Taxi. And of course, it's not done, right? There's always constant evolution. But what have you offered? What do you plan to offer in the future to other people in your community, the community-driven pinball, craft pinball, village-driven pinball community?
So in the sphere or world that is indie pinball, man, we're gonna try to get this to stick. Indie pinball,
We'll
indie
try
pinball,
different
indie
terms
pinball.
until it just works, right?
In the sphere, like I want to create tools and things that make it more attainable. So that may be video content. Partnering with some of these great media outlets to help them create indie pinball centric content of, hey, we're going to walk through the basics of how I've gotten X, Y, or Z to work. And here's the basics of the software. And here's the basics of how to wire something like this safely. And content that I can rely on other people in the industry to help me create. At the end of the day, I'm an all right tech, but, the guy reading me the questions is 10 times the tech that I am and could see certain things in my game and going, hey, you might want to change this because of this. Like, you did something similar to how Theater of Magic did something, and man, do I hate working on that exact point. And there's a collective knowledge that can be gathered in that to further the community. So, like, the majority of what I want to create with indie pinball is, like, video content, different infographics, stuff like that to show people it's not as scary as it looks. Because when you look at this is a maze of wiring and mess that is just scary. Like, I don't know. If I looked at this the first time, I'd go, man, I look at the bottom of my TNA and I first went, nah, there's no way I can do this. Like, no chance.
I don't know, man. Looking at the bottom of your game, it's actually really clean. It's really nice for
Yeah,
someone who's really neurotic about
But
wiring.
you're someone that you work on a ton of games, so you know, like, what a production game looks like. You know how to sort through the maze. Like, if there was some, kid that's thinking about going to engineering school, looks at that and goes, man, you got a lot of wires in there. Like,
Wason thinks it's beautiful.
Wason thinks it's beautiful. Awesome.
I think we have some of your wonderful friends here trolling and asking funny questions, and I want to ask them all.
All right.
But I think if we maybe we'll move into the Matt Q&A here, and we'll talk about Matt. But Marty Bandemer
Oh, Marty Bandemer.
asks, this is cool, but what rank are you in League of Legends?
I am back in my heyday in college. I was a bronze 3. I got out of Wood League, so I was pretty happy about that. Yeah, no, I'm.
This is I think we all know the answer to this question. Well, maybe not all, but what are your thoughts on in reaction to this? Do you think more people would do indie pinball games if they were funded in the manner that indie dev studios get funded by indie producers, right? Like a la Devolver.
I think indie pinball isn't like there yet. I think it's something like the reason that funding is there is because it's became attainable with software tools, like different game engines to do that. I think right now, American is, trying to do that with their expo competition. My thoughts on that are, America knows the guys that they want to look at and want to produce. We as a homebrew community, or indie pinball community, are a really cool group in that, like, it's oddly wholesome because we're all trying to do the same thing, and it's kind of like all doing the same thing against all the odds because there's a lot that can go wrong, and there's so many projects that start but just end because you hit a wall on something or you play it and you just don't like it.
It's demoralizing. You hit those demoralizing humps, and you're like, yeah, I can't do this.
Yeah, you spend 5 years designing something, and every little detail you don't like, and like if one of them just like upsets you that little bit more and just throws you off, and it's like, man, I'm done with pinball. I'm gonna go back to just fixing machines and like playing every once in a while. But I think like overall, it would be cool to see. I think in the overall arc of it, we're already seeing that. Scott Denisu, hired by Spooky to make 2 games. Keith Elwin, homebrewer, hired on and has knocked it out of the park every time. Jersey Jack just hired Mark Sedin, made Metroid Pinball. The industry knows that they need to hire these guys that are doing it for the passion and, are willing to spend several years of their free time to design these things and have that fire to do it. Like, so we're kind of there. Like, I don't think we'll ever see like, the major manufacturers going, hey, here's some money, design a game, and, we'll see what happens. But I definitely see like the manufacturers are paying attention to what we're doing as a community, and through hiring us and other things are supporting that community.
And we can't forget about the newest homebrewer turned into a production pinball designer, Jack Danger, who had an amazing platform, and Jack has done a ton for pinball and bringing pinball into the eyes of many people who would never maybe care about pinball, but the dude has a production game, and it's right over there if you haven't played it yet. It's got
a really goofy topper.
It's the best topper I've ever seen. It's the only topper I'd ever
I
want
really
on
wish
any
they
game.
would have spring-loaded Jack, though, so he just kind of wiggles.
Like on the Beatles. That would have been awesome.
Do we want to do that? Do we want to break Jack's topper? We'll ask Wason. We'll ask Wason. If
When the
Wason
show
says
closes,
yes, we can
I've
do
got
it.
a spring. I think we can do it.
We'll get a flippers.
But someone on YouTube did ask that this person says that America's Most Haunted is one of his favorite games. I mean, the story of Ben Heck, who I saw a while ago. He's in here somewhere. I mean, did that game inspire you at all? Did you have any ties back to that game and maybe being inspired to do this?
So the 2 games that really inspired me, I will be the first to say I am the worst pinball enthusiast because I'm really bad at pinball and I don't pay attention to things. So the 2 games that inspired me was Ed Owen's Ghost in the Shell. I actually played it at MGC 2018. Asked him a ton of questions, but then never thought like, oh, I'll do homebrew. And then, meeting Scott of TNA and going, oh, crap, people do this. Like, I want to give this a shot. Because at the end of the day, I got into pinball 5 years ago. So, like, it's not like I've been, a 10-year fan and 5 years ago I decided to do this. It was, I got into pinball 5 years ago, and 4 years ago I was like, maybe I can do this.
I mean, I think it is inspiring. It isn't to see more people build indie games, to see people be picked up and get positions doing this and being paid to do this. It's inspiring, and I think the way I always look at it, at least in my trade, is that if I can't. As us being like the next generation of this industry, if we can't inspire other people or younger people to continue it, it might die with us, right? And to see other people inspired to not only create old games, but to keep the older games running and to keep them working for a foreseeable amount of time. Sorry, I can't talk to microphones. It's important to continue keeping people into this, and I think there are many avenues for people to enjoy pinball, right? Just like some people enjoy playing pinball. I enjoy fixing pinball more than I enjoy playing pinball. You obviously are extraordinarily passionate about building pinball. That's one of the beauties of pinball, right? That there are many ways to enjoy it now, more so than there were 20, 30 years ago. Segue, blah, 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 blah. What got you into pinball? What the heck? Why do you like this stuff?
I mean, I always liked pinball when I was a kid because I was a hardware kid. Like, I liked things that moved, flashed, made noise at me. And so, like, I liked arcade games, but it was like, I'm going against a computer. Like, I don't know when it's going to just go, hey, I'm going to end your life so you'll put more quarters in. Like, I didn't know when that was going to happen. So I didn't know if it was just I was bad at them or that they were programmed to just beat me. And so I always liked pinball because it felt like it was me against physics, and I was the leader of my own demise. Fast forward, I got older, didn't play pinball as much because, I didn't live near an arcade. There wasn't much of a community around me. It wasn't until I graduated college, because I used to do, like, auto projects, working on cars and stuff, and I moved into an apartment. And I can't restore cars in an apartment, even if I wanted to. And so I went, man, what else could I fix up? And I think I saw like a Todd Tuckey video on pinball and went, man, it would be cool to work on pinball. So I went to my local operator and just said, hey, I'm an engineer. I want a project game. He's like, we don't sell project games. People come back to me, blah, blah, blah. They're just going to say I sold them a crap game. And it's like, well, yeah, it's a project. That's kind of how it works. He's like, oh, well, you're an engineer and my nephew or something. I went to college with his nephew. He's like, all right, I trust you. Sold me a space shuttle. I restored it, got it running, and then just kind of fell in love with the hobby again because it fits all of the things that I like. I like folk art, so gas and oil, like sign art, all that stuff. And pinball is folk art at the end of the day. It's a product of its time. We look at all the eras, during the space race, everything was space themed. During Westerns, everything was Western themed. And so I love that about pinball. And then it's mechanics and electronics. So it's something I can troubleshoot, fix, and share with my friends. So
yeah, you can play it. It's a game. You can touch it. It's physical. And there are things that you can't touch that are really enjoyable to fix and repair. It's very satisfying all the way around.
And sometimes you can just turn all your games on, turn off the light in the room, and sit and just look at them all in attract mode with a beer and go, this is cool. This is really cool.
Sitting on this stage and looking at 30 or 20-something Godzillas and a whole free play section, which I actually haven't been over to yet.
There's a lot of weird games.
Yeah, there's a Spanish game. I want to play Stern's Mustang. I don't get to play Mustang very often. There's a Sorcerer over there that looks spicy. I think we need to go play some pinball.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Absolutely.
Wow, we don't have a producer. Okay, I'm going to go check, make sure there's no more questions for Matt, but I think we're going to sign off. Because I want to play pinball, and there's some beers to be drank.
If only we had, like, a mobile cam. Like, we could go do Marco on the go.
Don't inspire Emoto, because she's coming back. We need to play pinball, not film pinball
This
right
is
now.
true.
Maybe tomorrow.
Yeah. Want to play a game on this? I'll walk you through a game.
Fire it up. Yeah, fire it up. Let's do it. Put the play field down. Let's play it for a second.
All right.
Okay, change of mind.
I walked away for 20 minutes and you guys haven't started playing it?
Well, because we went into Q&A session, and we're talking about like inspiration.
I want to see it play.
Am I gonna crush your guys'
And-
camera if I drop the playfield?
Oh, it looks really cool though.
Yeah, I'm saying Marco After Hours needs a tilt bob cam.
Yes. So while Benzik is setting up his awesome indie pinball machine, Motor City Taxi, I just wanted to remind everyone to sign up to Stern's Insider Connected. It's absolutely free, y'all, so there's really no reason for you to do it. You can collect achievements, put your high score up on the leaderboard. If you're here at Midwest Gaming Classic at 9 o'clock, which is coming really soon, we're going to give away some prizes for some of the top scores. I'm going to find Wason. So everyone put in your QR codes, scan it with your phone onto any of these Stern Pinball games and try to get a high score. And then we're going to pick some people to go home with some awesome Stern swag.
See, the great thing about Stern Insider is it tracks your scores, but now I can't lie about my high scores to my friends. Like when Kyle plays when you guys get games, I can be like, "Oh, I beat your score, Kyle." And he's like, "But I fix games. You don't fix games." And I'm like, "But I beat you." And now he's going to know. He's going to see Miss Benzik and be like, "Oh, I own that guy in pinball."
The other thing I really love about Insider Connected is it has this little verified badge. So if you play at home, you can still get the achievement badges and the high score, your scores. But if you go on location, then you get the shiny verified badge to make sure you didn't maybe have the glass off when you got your
Make sure you're
5
not a
billion
cheater.
score, Benzik.
Hey,
There's so many great features to this platform, and it's just the beginning. That's the most exciting part about it. All right, he's setting up. Let's see.
Where did I lose my lovely assistant to?
Said stall while he goes to the bathroom.
Oh, fair.
Pinball Gramps. Yes, Insider Connected. So go to sternpinball.com/insider. You can sign up for a free account, and all the new Stern titles will have a QR code reader on the apron at the bottom. You scan your personalized QR code, and then you start tracking your scores and achievements and goals and win cool stuff.
I feel like I missed out. I didn't play any at Expo. I forgot to open up the app and actually do it.
Oh, no.
So I think I missed out on the
You missed
Expo.
the Expo badge.
I know.
There's this awesome Godzilla Expo badge thing.
I'm really jealous of the people that played it at Logan Arcade though.
Yeah,
That
you had
badge
to get
is
both
cool.
badges.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you got both badges, then you trade that in for a t-shirt. And that's just
Nice.
kind of like a feature that everyone's going to start adopting. So you go to, say, Logan Arcade, and you get a high score or you get an achievement, then they might trade that in for a free drink.
Yeah.
You know, the
No,
opportunities are
the future
limitless.
is connected pinball, and I'm super excited to see it.
Absolutely. All right, so since Kyle's taking forever, I'd love to play a game of Motor
Do we get to
City
see
Taxi.
Omoto play pinball?
Yeah,
Sweet.
I want to play. Let's do some rigging of this camera thing, and I'm gonna come up there and play with you real quick.
All right. All right. What do we got here? All right. Which one? You had it over there. Oh, yeah, the camera. So, want to just throw it on the apron? Oh. That's holding the computer that's running everything. I would absolute. Where can we throw the camera? I don't know if that camera's active. I'm just gonna dance at it. All right, so I'll walk you through it. First thing you can do, you can select your driver. So I've got 4 different drivers, all different music types. So whichever driver speaks to you the most. Once you're good, you can plunge into the playfield. And skill shot. Look at that. Yeah, it needs some love after Expo. Like, it got a lot of plays, and I just didn't service it. So, and in a flash. So, Amoto, what you're gonna want to aim for, right? Oh, hey, remember how we opened the scoop? So we opened the trapdoor in the game, and there's no subway below it. So let me grab a ball real quick. 1 second. Did it fall out of the machine completely? No.
I heard it hit the bottom of the cabinet.
I know, so did I.
Oh well, I guess there's wires, so we should be careful.
Well, luckily the ball is round, so... Alright, you take this, let me look for the ball.
All right, we're gonna fix problems. See, this is the fun of Homebrew. Indie, community developed fun. Well, I mean, it's close to the power supplies. Here, I'll look through the back. Hold on.
Oh, found it.
Okay. Whoopsie. And now Amoto tilted. You have a plumb bob? Who puts plumb bobs in their pinball machines?
Most of my machines. This is like one of two that does. Or three.
Be gentle, it's custom.
And Jerry Dempsey, which was the best.
All right, Amoto, get in there. We tilted ball 1, but now you get to play ball 2.
Commentary.
Alright, so, in your typical rush to get something done in not a lot of time, I didn't install a component in the game, and we had it open, so Amoto managed to launch the ball out the back of the machine. So, you're ready to plunge? And another skill shot. Look at that. So right now, what you want to, and you get that one back. So notice how all the red lights, 6 of them just turn green. So what that means is you've unlocked locations in Detroit to drive people to. So now, when you plunge, you're going to want to hit Start Fair so you can select your location. If the algorithm is that far off that it thinks I sound like Aretha Franklin, like YouTube and Twitch have a problem. Yeah, exactly. I've had to delete so many VODs because of code streams. Oh, cheat.
Let's cheat a little.
All right, we cheated it. Okay, so now you've popped up here. If you hit the right flipper, oh, huh. So I forgot to tell it, like, when it tilts to eject the ball. So we're just going to do a quick code reset, because that's what we do. So you guys are seeing the beauty of indie pinball dev. Finding out all the things that are broken in real time, in the worst time to find them out while you're on stage, and there's a bunch of people looking at you. Well, no, this will inspire, like, kids that are way better at code than me to go, man, this guy's an idiot. I can do better than him. And then they'll code me under the table. Like, it's great. All right, Kyle, I'll have you play. All right. Yeah. Dude. Hey, nothing wrong with Bob Seger. So, what Kyle's going to be aiming for is the scoop, or the spinners right now to unlock the modes. So, in this case, the auto plunger was able to give him enough spins to qualify the first group of modes. That's the first time I've seen the ball go over that plastic, so that was cool. And so the outlanes are angry. Oh no. Yeah. Auto plunge it. Nope, that's not the geek. It's this one. So the tilt system on the game has some issues of utilization. You won't. It'll be fine. There you go. So what we had to do there was just get the ball out of the scoop because I didn't program it right. But I learned now I need to look at that. So Kyle's going to aim for this flashing white light, which is the ball, the skill shot. However, it cancels after 5 seconds that the shooter lane is open. So now that Kyle's unlocked the first set of location modes, he can hit the scoop and select a mode.
You say that like I can actually finish.
There it is. It's such a satisfying shot. So now you see this HUD pop up and all this content's here. Now you can select a mode. And all of the modes are drop target modes. So you want to hit all the flashing drop targets. Cheating. You got... Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So in this case, you can see where the ball is getting stuck up here for so long. This is where that trapdoor would open to go, hey, never mind. I want the ball out of here. So at this point, you've now timed out the mode, which then it kills all the drop targets. And I think because I'm bad at math, if you hit the hurry up late, it'll actually take points away because I forgot to actually do the math. You want to...
Oh, I'm still pissed.
Oh, I lost a piece of plastic. Last minute plastic design. All right. So let's select Shinola Hotel. Hold both flippers. It's going to fire out, and this is a roving drop target mode. Nice. So you can see every couple of seconds, the drop target moves to a different location. So like right there, the drop target was sitting there, but Kyle wasn't sure how long it would stay there. So he aimed for it. Right when he shot it, the drop target dropped and moved to a different location. Which is something like, I want it to be fun but frustrating at times. And I think that's something that is... Oh, Jesus, I missed. And I think that's something that like is not like a painful fail. It's like, God, wish I would have hit that.
Let's try. Look. Let's try one more time.
Absolutely.
I did just see black sheep. That joke break is fun.
Yeah. Just wait till I make it out of stainless and not cheap Home Depot tin.
It's fun to watch.
Yeah.
Why?
Nice nudge. So this is a nudge-centric game because of how how wide the outlanes are. Like, you have to be bumping this game a lot, which I think is fun.
Are you a player that enjoys nudging? Is that
Absolutely. I think, like, tilting is trying, eh? There it is. So this time, let's do Belle Isle. Mainly because I know we haven't played that one, so the variables won't be broken yet. Broken. So in this case, each of the 3 roving target modes are, the time changes. So, like, the early modes might be really, like, player-friendly, that it's going to keep the target in a place for a while and switch it instantly. Some of the harder modes might, like, wait a little bit longer and, make you pay if you mess up. So I think something you should shoot at. So let's hit both flippers and go back to normal play. Let's hit the Spirit of Detroit and watch the ball fling around. So I would try to aim for, like, right in here, because your E and your OI aren't hit yet. So I would try to hit right in here, and the ball's going to wing around. The magnet's probably going to grab it and spin it around. So you got the Yeah, and I really enjoy that because it just adds some randomness, and if you're not paying attention, it'll catch you by surprise. So you could also backhand right here, and because the backhand's slower, it'll probably grab the ball and do the same. So Kyle just asked, like, how is it programming a magnet? And that's something that it's a lot of trial and error because when you pulse the magnet, so you saw how it whipped the ball like that. It's something that like the more you pulse it, the hotter it gets, and so you don't want to overdo it, but you also want it to be able to grab the ball. And because I'm using modern flipper control, the ball is moving fast, and so we need to grab the ball, let go of it, and then whip it back at the targets. So it's a lot of trial and error. So now that you completed that target set, you've now unlocked Mystery, which oh, you got ball save, you're good. Which right now Mystery isn't programmed, so it'll just say feature in progress. So you'll see feature in development, and then it'll go straight into the mode select. So the whole like yeah. And that's where it's like the where I say there's 20 things for every one thing. Thinking about like the hierarchy of a multi-ball is queued off this scoop, Mystery is queued off this scoop, and the Fair Start is all queued off this scoop. So I have to figure out like how do I check to see if I have a multi-ball ready, or how do I have this and make sure that all those modes play well together. Like, that's the little things that take so much time, but you don't notice them until they're wrong. And I think that's, like, one of the reasons why the indie pinball guys are, like, so passionate and dedicated, because they'll take the time to get that right. Especially stupid things like flipper codes, too. It's like a Pixar blooper reel.
Okay, wait, is this camera on? As a parting gift, we will show Matt's flipper code. We won't be able to hear it, but we'll be able to see something funny. Unless you don't want to give that away.
No, I think flipper codes should be, like, I'm really hoping that, like, when Stern puts in flipper codes in their games, that they have achievements based off of flipper codes. Like, I mean, why shouldn't they? And seeing, like, that, like, people learn the flipper code and, like, spread, I think that would be cool. What?
Check out this flipper code. Check out this messed up flipper code. So, maybe one day you'll be able to hear this. Matt, there's a lot of development to continue doing. This game will be at another show. What might that be?
So next show I'll be at is Cincinnati in December.
Will this game be coming?
Yes.
Okay.
This game will be coming. I'll probably be bringing my Total Nuclear Annihilation, which I may be writing custom code for, as another avenue for homebrew pinball development or indie pinball development. And then I also plan at being MGC next year, Expo next year, Texas Pinball Festival next year, and maybe Southern Fried if I can make it happen.
I think there might be ways we can try to help you make that happen.
Oh, yeah.
Please come.
Absolutely. You know, it's something that I want to support. I want every show to have a big indie group there, and you know, again, it's showing the next group of designers that this is possible and you can do it.
You can. Let's end it on a positive message. Thanks for coming on stage and talking with us forever. Where's your beer?
Oh, it's not that one. I have no idea where my beer went. Sad
Is
day.
it in the game?
Probably
I mean, your
is.
soda's still in the game.
Sure. I mean, we did a little bit of Q&A.
Oh,
Okay.
do you want me to chat like with my fingers on the keyboard?
Oh, there it is.
Oh,
Can you hand me that
oh,
one?
here it is. Hey, here we have to do a ceremonial. Cheers, my friend.
Cheers.
Great to see you again.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm gonna
Thank
mute
you,
mine.
Matt, so much for showing off your indie pinball machine. It's beautiful. We'll Then where are all the indie games, the home
Pillar B.
custom games? Pillar B2. Oh yeah, you want to help me with this giveaway? Alrighty. I'm gonna get my signage real quick, just to. All right, everybody, we're gonna be doing a giveaway for a Stern Translight. I have an epic Iron Maiden Pinball Translight that is going home with someone very special tonight for signing up with our newsletter list. And then I also have some awesome swag for the high score on the Insider Connected leaderboards. All right. You don't have to hold it. All right, everyone. Tonight.
QR code through Twitch.
Oh, yeah, sure. If you can scan this QR code through Twitch, you will be entered into our drawing, but you have to be present. So Saturday at 3 p.m. All right, everyone. So we are doing a randomly selected drawing for everyone who scanned our Marco QR code to win this amazing Iron Maiden Translight by Stern Pinball. One of the greatest games of all time, in my opinion. And I'm going to look over at Kim, and she's going to tell me who the winner is for this Translight. And it is Rob Rona. So congratulations to Rob Rona. Come up to the stage to get your Translight. Yay! Rob, if you're not here, I'm going to keep it. Right? That would look great on my wall. Rob Rona. So all of y'all that want a chance to win a free Stern Pinball Translight, we have Iron Maiden, we have Spider-Man, we have Jurassic Park, Avengers, all the good ones. Just come over here and scan your QR code. You fill out a brief survey, and you get put in the raffle. And we'll also send you a free shipping coupon code to use on our website. It's amazing. Everyone needs pinball parts, right? So Rob Rona, if you are here playing Godzilla Premium on the other side of our massive Godzilla, come on down and collect your Translight. While we wait for Rob, I took some screenshots right at 9 o'clock as well to do an impromptu leaderboard celebration for Stern's Insider Connected. So I'm going to go through each of the titles that we have here and call out the screen name or the username for the highest score. And I will give you a little vote for Gary pin. So on Aerosmith, with a score of 139,230,000, God, this is hard. 139,321,870 is Vegas 9. Vegas 9, if you're around, come by our Marco booth and we'll give you some swag for having the highest score on Aerosmith at 9 o'clock. For Avengers Infinity Quest, wow, Vegas 9 again. We might have to upgrade your swag if you come by the booth. Vegas 9 had over 90 million on Avengers. That is amazing. Let's see who's doing good on Black Knight Sword of Rage. We have Stern Punchy. Oh, is that me? Punchy may not be able to get swag, but we'll give him a beer or something. But Stern Punchy, congratulations. At 9 o'clock, you had the highest score on the Insider Connected leaderboard with 112 million points. Next up, we have Deadpool, because we do have, is it George Gomez's personal Deadpool here? I think the premium is his personal Deadpool. Oh my gosh, and the high score with 215 million, I'm not going to read out all the numbers because that's just ridiculous, is Black Cat. I think we know who Black Cat is. This guy was supposed to be working, and instead he's putting high scores on the pinball machine. And I just caught him in the act. So I will still give you your very own Vote for Gary pin for your hard work on the pinball machines, even though now I know where you were earlier. This guy. All right, let's keep going. We got a few more titles here. So at 9 o'clock, leader of the Insider Connected leaderboard was with 28 million was Scott Bowman. So Scott, if you're around, come up to the stage and get some Stern swag. Black Cat was right under that. All right, Godzilla. Wow, what is this? With 655 million points was Stern's MXV. So that is a score that y'all are all going to have to work hard to beat. Maybe we should reset the leaderboard so Mike Vinacore can't get highest scores on these games. If you beat Mike Vinacore's score of 655 million on Godzilla, we will give you a really, really nice prize from our Stern Shop collection. Maybe a shirt, maybe a hat, and a Translight. But let's keep going. So Iron Maiden at 9 o'clock, we had a score over 1 billion. So 1.4, almost 1.5 billion is Kisco. Kisco. So congratulations, Kisco. That is an insane score. Number 2 is MXV, Mike Vinacore's, with a measly 208 million. Kisco beat him by like 5 times with that 1.5 billion score. Kisco, if you're around in the Stern booth, come on up and we'll give you some swag. All right. And with Jurassic Park, I'm just going to skip the Stern names. Our second highest score was Fly High with 40 million. Stern Punchy had 136 million. But, you know, they're play testing the games, and they just happen to be good testers, too. So we're going to give this award to Fly High. If you're around at any point this weekend, I have the screenshot. So Friday night, you won the leaderboard challenge. If you're friends with Fly High, let them know. Come to the booth, and we'll give you some swag for your 40 million on Jurassic Park. We have 2 more titles to go through. So Led Zeppelin, we're going to skip Mike Vinacore again and go to the second high score with 39 million, which is Zelda Quest. So Zelda Quest, is anyone in the chat knows these people? Tell them to come by our booth and we'll give them some swag. So congratulations, Zelda Quest, for having 39 million on Led Zeppelin. And last but certainly not least is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And the high score is Fly High with 18 million. So come on and get your swag if you're around. And for those playing right now, these are great scores, but if you play long enough and start learning the rules, look at that rule card on the bottom left of the game, on that apron. You might need to use your phone to light it up. Learn the rules, how to get really good scores, and you could win. You could get your name up on the leaderboard, keep track with it, and we'll award you with some awesome Stern swag. There's lots of room here for achievements. That's it. Congratulations, everyone. So Rob Wona won the Iron Maiden Translight. And if you are here, Fly High, Vegas 9, Stern's Punchy. Who is Punchy? Scott Bowman, Kisco. Come on down to our booth and we will give you some Stern swag for dominating the leaderboard, the Insider Connected leaderboard for Stern. And everyone else playing, scan your QR codes. It's completely free. Get your names on the leaderboard. You could win cool prizes all weekend long. And I think at this point now, we should just turn up some music and jam and play some pinball, right? Yeah. Any requests? All right. Thank you, everyone, on the live stream. I'm going to play some pinball. What is it?
Do you want to just wait, or do you want me to draw here for you?
No.
I can also email him.
I think you should. So, Rob Rona, we're going to email you to pick up your beautiful Iron Maiden Translight. And if you don't come, I'm going to keep it. Oh, nice, Mark. That was smart. Got the leaderboard up on there. You got to focus it. Hold on, watch this. I can't tell. Looks a little bit better. Just pixelate it. Look at all those high scores. I'm going to put my name up there. Ooh, yeah, we should figure out how to feed it indirectly. There's lots of room to get your name on the top 10. But everyone, you're doing a great job. These are awesome scores. All right, for those of you on Twitch, we are... Should I sign off, or you want to get scheduled and watch some pinball? Yeah, right? Fliptronic, we are not going to use your insider QR to log you in for a badge. You got to be here. Come on. It's only a 2,000-mile drive or something. Pinball Gramps, it won't let you sign up. I'll talk to you in the chat.
That's amazing. Like, fucking. But this is fucking. But you're fucking like. I was like, dude, not fucking done. What the fuck was that all about? But I've been doing fasting every month. That helps a lot. Yeah, that's kind of a dog thing. Yeah. Yeah, like, that's huge. I need that back. Yeah. So, there's that a lot. What is he talking about?